Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started then. My name is Megan Walsh, and I'm an assistant director at Luddy Career Services. And today I am joined by some of my colleagues from Career Services. All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk just a little bit about some of the things you're going to be thinking about now that you're getting ready to graduate. So we will talk about these particular topics. We're going to talk about your Handshake alumni account. We're going to talk about budgeting, how to set goals at first when you first start a job, how to the importance of figuring out a healthy work-life and work-life balance. We're talking about social media, graduate school, how to sort of build new connections as a person who has just finished a degree program, and also about engaging as an alum. So there are opportunities to get involved with IU and with Luddy in ways where you can support the students who are coming after you and, support the school. So first thing we're going to talk about is this. I want to emphasize this first because you're still eligible for Luddy Career Services support the entire time that you are an alumni or an alum. So if you want to make appointments with us, if you want to come and see us, if you want to just ask questions at any point in your career, if you've graduated from Luddy, you're still eligible for those services. Right now, we're using Handshake as our primary way of making appointments, attending events. So you'll want to make sure that you've set up this account on Handshake so it continues after you graduate. There's an option. Eventually, your IU email will expire. That would be a good question for you at Weekly Digest. If you want us to be able to email you from Handshake with information about events and things like that, we'll need to update your email address. And it's easier to do that sooner rather than later so you don't forget, because I know I would. So if you, that is something that we have to help you do. So if you're interested in updating your default email from your IU email to a different email that you'll be checking after graduation, let us know. You can just send us an email, luddycareers@iu.edu, and we will get in touch with you and sort of go through the process with you. It's fairly easy, just a couple of steps, but it is something that we have to be involved with for the moment. So be sure to set that up. You can also still use Handshake to search for jobs, to sign up for and attend events like this, events like the career fair, Connect with Tech, any of these sort of practice sessions that we have, like the skill builds with our employers. You're still eligible to attend all of those as an alum. So make sure that you set up your Handshake account. It's really a really good resource for you even after graduation. If you forget to and you ever have questions, you can always just email us at Luddy Careers and we'll be here for that. Okay, so one of the things that we first want to think about, this is just sort of a reminder of all the things that you might be doing after graduation. One of the things that is sometimes hardest for students is figuring out how to budget, especially if you've been living like university housing, or you've been having meal plans, or you've had other sort of bundled utilities, things like that. It's a really good idea to look up and find a budgeting worksheet. Just getting a template and seeing all of the categories of things that people need to budget for, when they're out of school, when they're working full time, when they're looking for work, making sure that you are aware of all the different things that you will need to be budgeting for is a really great thing to have. And also considering like what income you have, what you're going to be doing if you're starting a job. So that's finding a budgeting worksheet is one of the first things I recommend to students who are getting ready to graduate and have any questions about like finances or starting a new life in a different state or a different city. Those are really important. You can also right now contact IU Money Smarts. So that's like the Office of Financial Wellness. They have so many great resources. They have a lot of different like classes online that you can take, that you can watch in your own time. just video presentations about different topics. They also do consultations. So you can schedule a one-on-one consultation with an advisor there if you need to, if you really feel like you need to talk to someone about like, okay, how do I budget? What do I do? Like if you have financial questions that you feel you can't answer by yourself, they're a great resource for that. You can make individual appointments, and you can also make group appointments. So you can also make group appointments. So if you and a friend have questions, they definitely do that as well. So you can go in groups, you can go by yourself. So don't be afraid to reach out to Money Smarts. They're a great resource. They're also doing a presentation with us on April 17th. So you can check that out in Handshake. They're going to be really fun. They're very interesting, all the different things that they do and help students with. So that's worth your time. So just I put a little note in there of some things to consider. Don't forget that if you are going to a different state or a different city, or even just leaving campus housing, something like that, even if you have a job lined up and you know what your income is going to be, you may have some expenses before you get your first paycheck. So that's something to consider as well. You may have to move. You may have to put a deposit down on a new apartment. So make sure to consider the things that you will have to do before you get your first paycheck as well. Count that into your budgeting. It's worth also knowing when and how often you will get paid. So are you paid every week? Are you paid every 2 weeks? If you're working at IU, sometimes you get paid monthly. So that's an important thing to consider as well when you're building your budget, just knowing when you will have money coming in and how much, how frequently. I said that finding a budgeting worksheet template is a good idea, and it definitely is, but also keeping track of your personal expenses and income. There are so many apps for doing this. You can just enter information, keeping track of how much you're spending, how much you need to have to meet your sort of daily needs. That's a really critical part of budgeting. And I mentioned earlier too that sometimes, especially if you're moving from a sort of student situation where maybe like a meal plan or the housing is sort of all inclusive, like you get electricity and internet and entertainment, and transportation with the buses. So there are all these things that you need to think about, you may start needing to consider especially if you're moving from a student situation. So that's again where a budgeting worksheet template can be really helpful in just thinking, oh yeah, I have to think about all of these additional things. And again, also where Money Smarts can be helpful, they can help you again sort of identify what you need to be successful in your budgeting, which is definitely a critical part of being a functional alum post-graduation student. All right, so we also talk about creating a healthy work life and a healthy work-life balance. I feel like those are almost two different things, but maybe not. So this may be a little bit difficult, like especially if you're just starting, going into your first post-graduation. The instinct is to just go all out, work as hard as you can every day, all day, never take breaks, work on the weekends, constantly texting with, your manager or your team outside of office hours. And for some folks that is a culture they really love. There are some people who just want to do that all the time. But it can also lead to burnout really quickly. Even if you're very passionate about what you do, or you think this is really important work, be aware that, doing that type of thing can really sort of make that passion leave, or, make you feel exhausted or even sick. So thinking very consciously about setting the boundaries about the type of work you do, that's important, especially when you're first starting work. It's also important to think about the types of work environments that you enjoy and the types that you dislike. So again, there are some students or some people who really enjoy sort of fast-paced work, constant change, all kinds of different projects, moving from place to place. And there are also people who really kind of like to stay in one place and do similar things, maybe not the same thing over and over again, but maybe. So when you are first finding your jobs, sometimes folks tend to sort of take, the first thing that's relevant to their degrees. Um, but even if you're working at something that's not really relevant to your degree, you feel like this is not really the job I want, it can still be a good opportunity to sort of think about, do I like the culture I'm in? Do I like this pace of work that I'm doing? And it can help you sort of move into something that is more aligned with your values and the types of things that you like, and it builds greater career satisfaction in the long run. Another important thing about creating a healthy work life and a work life balance is understanding your company's benefits. So, and this means things in addition to salary that a company will be part of your employment package. This includes things like health benefits, insurance, and the health benefits can be, mental health, physical health, emotional health. So if you see terms or vacation time, or if you have questions about any of the benefits related to your contract, talking with the employer's human resources department, they are the ones who are usually in charge of sort of putting that all together and picking this out for the company. So if you have questions about that, asking someone there if they can explain things to you, that's what they're there to help with. If they can't help, they may be able to find someone who can help. So again, if you have questions about any of the benefits involved with your contract, those can be so helpful to making your experience at work really, really workplace. So knowing what you've got and what you're eligible for, very, very helpful. And talking with HR is usually a great idea to figure out any questions you have. When you're starting a new job too, you kind of want to think about setting goals. And a lot of times at entry level jobs, sometimes things will be very sort of rigid or structured. Um, they may have, this is the training you're doing, this is what you'll do every day. But that doesn't mean that you can't set like your own personal goals. Think about what you want to accomplish there in like the first 90 days. So like the 90 days, I say that it's just that's a typical like, probation period for new hires. It can be up to a year, 6 months. But 90 days is usually the initial probation period for a new hire. And if you can think about like what you want to do during that time, that will help you focus. So if you talk this through, with your manager, ask them what it looks like for someone to be successful in the first 90 days. And that can help you focus on, is this the type of job that I want? How can I succeed here? And how can I, continue to learn? Again, like with you, when you've got something that you're doing very specific things every day and you're not in charge of maybe coming up with your own strategy or your own plans, you can still think about, personally, what's going on at this new job. You want to think about, okay, I'm a professional now. How do I present myself as a professional? And you're not, being a different person. You're just trying to figure out, how do I want to be seen in this role, in this type of work, in this industry? So thinking about that's what we mean when we say professional brand. What are you like in the workplace? How would people describe you? Trying to be your best professional self, whatever that means to you. Another thing to think about when you're first starting a job is, what is your culture ad? So a lot of jobs now are thinking about, hiring to add on to their culture, to increase something that they are lacking, to help them be more well-rounded, to help them make more objective decisions because of a lot of different viewpoints. So thinking about like the reason that you were hired, what are your unique skills? What is sort of unique about you? that is contributing to this company's culture. And thinking about that too can also help you with like future interviews as well. Just being able to identify like what's special about you in this role is something that is valuable not only to your current job that you have, but also to future jobs that you have. It'll just help you understand yourself better sort of as a professional. Paying attention to office dynamics is also important. And that just sort of means the the relationships between folks in the office, making sure that you are not disrupting things or you're not moving through chains of command in an inappropriate way. Talking with your manager or with a coworker about the office culture, that's a good way to sort of figure out at least the basics of what's going on in an office dynamic. So another thing to think about at like goal setting for your new job is what are you doing to sort of move yourself ahead? Again, you may have specific duties, you may have like a really rigid set of things you are doing every day, but you can think about, what are you learning from this? How can you advance either in this career? How can you advance in this field? Who can help you learn? So talking to folks who have advanced at a couple of levels up, or even someone who may be doing something that you just find interesting, talking with them about what they're doing, what their skills are. If these things sound interesting to you, you could start, again, not just connecting with these people, but also utilizing their information to help you find resources to learn more about what they do and potentially move into an entirely different career. So it's very, very rewarding to connect with your peers, with those working relationships, and then also connecting with folks ahead of you or doing different things just to find out what's out there. It's a good time to explore. Another important thing, after you finished your degree program, you're sort of starting your new life, whatever that looks like, is trying to connect with your new community. So after graduation can honestly be kind of a lonely time. Folks are, getting used to not having friends around or, not having family around, moving into different places. And at first it can be very exciting, but it can also be very sort of isolating or alienating, especially if you've been in sort of a routine of academic, just sort of the academic life. It's very different from work life. It's a big adjustment. So making sure that you stay connected with your community and do some sort of, self-evaluation. These are really important things to do during this time. I'm looking at the question here, and it says, if I start learning new things outside of work to try and improve my position, how would I make that known to my employer? That's great. Yeah, that's a good question. So if you start, say that, let's go back here just to our previous one where we're talking about, how to sort of improve yourself and how to improve in your field. If you start learning new things like on your own time, you take classes online or you get certain certifications, you can make that known to your employer, usually through your manager. That's usually your manager is sort of like the first person you would talk to about something like this. Letting them know that you have started this, started these courses or started this certification. That's great. A lot of times jobs do things, what they call like performance reviews. So sometime during the performance review would be a good time to mention that to a manager, either for the first time or, bring it up how far you've come if you've mentioned it with this manager before. Just because each its own culture. And you may talk with your manager every day, all day, or you may just sort of meet them every once in a while. So, at any of those times where you meet with your manager, really, if they've got time to talk, let them know what you're doing. They're probably going to want to check in, especially if you're a new hire, just making sure that everything's going well. and then indicating to them that you've started new studies on your own just because you're interested in like a programming language, like you say, or some other certification or something else that you learned from someone in the company. Mentioning that to them at any time is really good. And also keeping track of the projects you're working on, the additional things that you're doing to help yourself develop. Those can be great things for not just like your resume, but also for those performance reviews that you might do at your current job. Employers are usually very excited about hires um, trying to improve themselves, trying to learn new things. So those are all great things to also have on your performance reviews. Okay. So we talk again about like connecting with your new community and with yourself, because again, after graduation can kind of be a little bit of a lonely or strange time. So we have a couple of sort of action verbs here. Discover. And when we talk about discovering, we're thinking about what are your likes and dislikes. And this may seem kind of obvious, but like really sort of dig in there. What types of people do you want in your life? What type of work environment do you want? So figuring out, like by paying really close attention to what you're doing, what you feel is lacking, what you feel like is really exciting to you, what you wish for. These can all really help sort of figure out, who you are, which leads into the second thing, which is do some self-reflection. What do you want out of life? What do you feel like is missing? What do you feel like you need to improve for yourself to build the kind of life that you want? Again, super, super important to be doing as a young professional. Can really lead to some really strong career path choices. It can lead to increased job satisfaction like over your entire career. So taking some time to sort of connect with yourself and finding out, what do I really want out of life? That's an important part of what you do after graduation, which also includes pursuing new interests, hobbies, research, skills, just like Traden said in the chat. If you're trying to improve your position by, say, learning a new programming language or getting a certification that's relevant to the industry, that's all great stuff. But also, finding out, what do you like to do? What would you maybe have liked to have done during college that you didn't have time for? Sometimes you will start at a new job, everything seems very overwhelming and like you're busy all the time. But once you settle into more of a routine, you may have some time to look into new things, to explore new parts of yourself that you maybe didn't have time to do during college. As well as, exploring what's happening in your local community. There may be a lot of opportunities out there. There may be places to volunteer. There may be, exciting events that you could be involved in. All of these things are good for you, not just, personally, but also professionally. You can make all kinds of interesting contacts by developing new hobbies, by developing, by volunteering at different places. We definitely have had students tell us, this person recommended a job to me because we are on the same, badminton team. They're not even in the same major, but this person that they randomly met knows something. So this can, again, be great personally and also professionally. And connecting with your coworkers and your peers, people who are in sort of the same position as you. If there are some at your current company, that's great. Again, like talking to folks who are ahead of you, sort of in the sort of chain in their career, who are maybe a couple levels advanced. They can be great resources. They can be great connections for you to learn and grow, as well as like peers who may even not be at the same company, but maybe doing similar jobs at similar stages in their careers. Talking with folks who you have these type of things in common with can help you, again, realize that you're not alone. After college, things have changed, but there are still folks out there who want to connect with you, and they may be folks that you haven't thought of before. So sort of expanding your circle of thinking, yes, I have my old friends, yes, I have my old contacts, but who can I learn from now? Who can I reach out to? Who can I build a circle with? That's an important part of sort of growing after graduation. Another really important thing to do is right after, before you graduate, is polishing your presence on social media. So you may not think it, but employers will look you up. They will search for your name, they will search for your email or any sort of like obvious, usernames you may have, nicknames. So if you have accounts out there that you maybe don't want an employer to see, either make them private and only add, friends, family. You can also deactivate any old accounts you have. We have definitely had students who have lost jobs because they have, say, gone on to Reddit and complained about, their current internship, for example. So just keep in mind what you're putting out there now and how it could possibly be connected to you, because employers will look that stuff up. Even if you're not currently working for them, if you're applying for a job there and they look things up and they don't like what they see, that can influence their decision to give you an interview. So just keeping that in mind, making your accounts private, deactivating older ones, that's a really good start, a really good basic thing to do. Also, make sure that when you are building those social media accounts, figure out who's appropriate for the content that's on that account. So on LinkedIn, you may not want to add, your weird uncle or, that friend that you have that kind of maybe is not the most most appropriate person on the internet. Making sure that you are adding folks to different accounts who are appropriate for those accounts. Maybe not adding your boss to Instagram or to WhatsApp. So just making sure that you're really conscious of what is the purpose of this app and who do I want to be on this app and who am I okay with seeing this aspect of myself. Try to go through and untag yourself from any pictures or posts or comments that you wouldn't want an employer to see. Sometimes, even if you're not posting it, other people will post things and tag you in it. Just looking for those and making sure that you remove yourself from any that might be a little bit questionable. And find out what happens when you search your name and email. So employers sometimes will look for that, especially if you've given them your contact information. They will just look you up just to see what's out there. Making sure that you are presenting sort of your best self on any internet searches or email searches. That's kind of critical on when you're prepping your social media for your more professional work life. And also double checking who you follow or engage with. These are also things that employers may be able to see. Again, why making accounts private is you sort of evaluate who you're following, evaluate who you decide to engage with, and making sure that those things won't impact an employer's opinion of you. Also, update your LinkedIn. That is sort of the place to have a professional presence on the web, on social media. It's career-focused social media. So updating your photo so that you have a professional photo. If you need one, you're welcome to come to any of our Luddy events. Get your photo taken there. We can do those for free. So if you see a headshot events coming up, just go ahead and come on in during that time, and we can help you get a professional photo. Also, making sure that you have a professional bio or about section on LinkedIn. That's important. Sometimes people just sort of put placeholders in there until they graduate, and that's okay. But now that an employer or potential employer or even a recruiter may be looking at that, you want to keep, you're kind of, again, curating this person on this platform. This is how I want to be seen as a professional. Making sure that you update your degree, your skills, the projects that you've done in classes, adding all of those things to LinkedIn and getting some critical keywords on there can be a really important thing to have. and try to follow some folks who may be able to, help you grow in either the career you've chosen, in the industry that you're interested in, can help give you career relevant opportunities. And these can be, career professionals or even influencers, professional organizations related to your degree program, recruiters for specific companies that you're interested in. All these can be great sources for advancing in your current career, finding other options. Just a great opportunity to just sort of get some information and see what other folks in the industry are doing. So that's the very basics of LinkedIn. We can definitely also give more specific advice too. If you'd like to have us look over your LinkedIn profile, we're happy to talk that through. You can just make an appointment on a Handshake. We can do that. We have another question in here, which is great, which says, will employees be concerned if you don't have any public social media? In general, probably not. If you can just literally mention that, like, I don't have any public social media, and that's fine. If you've really kind of locked it down, then that's okay too. Employers should not be sort of digging for this information. It's just more like a scan that they do to make sure that there's nothing out there. They're not hiring someone who's really going to damage their brand. Like, at the least, having a LinkedIn is usually recommended. They may be they may ask that question. If you don't have a LinkedIn, that's fine. But just let them know, if you don't have it, that's just not something that you're interested in. But also keep in mind that if there's any aspect of your job that involves like communication, talking with clients, representing your company or organization in any way, they may want to see some kind of, personal professional profile on the internet. So at least having a LinkedIn is usually what we recommend, especially if any of those aspects of your job are part of it. And yes, as Jody says, they want you to represent yourself and them well. So just having that out there, showing them that you are a person who could create this type of profile, that's usually helpful. But yeah, unless you're applying for like a social media type of job or, something like that, where you're really focused on external communications, they're probably not going to be looking like, they're probably not going to ask why don't you have a talk or something like that. So that shouldn't be a problem unless you're looking for a job where it's heavily focused on social media or marketing, something like that. Okay. And we also get the question too of like, well, maybe I should go to grad school, which is a great thing to think about. But there are some things to consider when you're considering that. It's not quite as exploratory as undergraduate is. When you're going to grad school, it's more of a training for a specific type of job. You go to grad school to advance your sort of specific career goals instead of just to find out sort of like what your interests are and building that foundation. Do you want to go now or do you want to go later? So sometimes right after you finish your degree program, if you're able to find a job, it might be useful to you to get some experience working first. You can always go back to grad school at a later time when you're really certain of what you want. You just want to make sure that if you're going to graduate school, it's because of the right motivation. It's not just to sort of like continue in an environment where you're comfortable. Grad school is very different from undergrad. PhDs are very different from master's degree. So like really sort of evaluating and studying what each of these would give you and what you would be doing in each of them. It's a very different sort of vibe. So figuring out if you want to do this immediately or if it's something that you can wait on and maybe sort of really get confirmed, yes, this is what I need and what I want to do. And with that, like figuring out, like, do you need a graduate degree to advance in your field? So if you are, you've graduated, you've got a job in your field, this is something that you think you might want to do as a career, you may not need to go to graduate school unless you want to advance to like an executive type of position. So this is another thing where networking, like with your peers and with folks who are ahead of you in the career path that you're interested in, finding out from them, talking to them about whether, a grad degree is something that's required. Do you see, certain master's degrees for all of the people, a little bit further up your chain? So figuring out if you even need one is an important thing to consider. Another thing is like, even if it's not something that you necessarily need to advance in your career, sometimes a graduate degree can increase your marketability. So, even if you could, maintain yourself at this level or even move further in your career, sometimes there are options that you want to explore that really require certain advanced study. So if that's something that's, relevant to you, and it's something that can work with your current lifestyle, you may be able to continue working. If it's a hybrid or online option, thinking about those as well. And just finding out, if this is something that would really increase your marketability and give you more options, that may be another good idea or another good reason rather for pursuing graduate school. Also, sometimes employers offer benefits related to graduate study, especially if they know that certain degrees are required to advance in the company or in the industry. Sometimes they will offer, discounted tuition. They may offer sort of time flexibility for classes depending on what type of courses you're taking. They may offer, again, tuition benefits. They may offer like book or material benefits. So that's something to consider if you decide to go back to grad school. If you want to remain, working for a current employer, find out if that's an option, if that's something that they would be willing to do. Even if it's not something that's explicitly stated in a contract, talk with them about it. Talking with your manager or with HR, those are all options to find out if this is an option for you. Also, of course, don't forget that Luddy Career Services can help you. Even though you're an alum, if you're thinking about going back to graduate school, even if it's not at Luddy or at IU, we can still help you sort of organize your materials. People sometimes ask for our help in editing, graduate essays, things like that. Preparing a CV instead of a resume for the application to grad school can be a little bit different. Preparing for any interviews you might do or on-campus visits. We can help you also just kind of look through the program and find the right fit and see, is this what you really want and what you really need to meet your goals, your specific career goals. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions about thinking about going back to grad school. We're happy to talk it through with you. If you have things that you need to talk through, that's what we are here for. We are also talking about, there are also ways to engage with IU and Luddy as one of our alumni. You can be involved through the Alumni Association for all of IU. There's also the Luddy Alumni Board. You could be involved in our career services panels or events. This picture in the background there is from our recent HCID Connect. That's a panel of our alumni from that program who came back to give information to current students to talk about their experience, the job markets. So you can also be involved in that. And even if we don't read like, I had this experience or I work with this company and I'd be happy to talk with the students about this, we'd love that. And we can definitely arrange that. So that's a great way to be involved if you're interested in something like that. Also recruited IU. So like letting people know, what your experience was like at IU is a very important part of their decision to come here. So that, and obviously, of course, there's donation, like monetary donation. You'll probably start getting those emails pretty soon. But if you are not able to do that, or you just don't want to do that, just being involved with like your time in one of these organizations is incredibly valuable. So if that's something that you want to do, please let us know and we can absolutely find something for you to do, or we can students. And we want to say also thank you for joining us. And remember that, we are here to help. If you ever have questions, you can contact us at Luddy Careers at IU. We can help with, again, all the stuff we sort of talked about, all of your questions about what to do next. As long as you're an alum at Luddy, we're here to help.